And so this first project I'm going to show you is called Calculicious. It's making calculus delicious. And this became a published book where students created kind of art pieces that actually had to use calculus. How does calculus function in art? So this one is looking at volume and surface area. This second one, obviously, is looking at two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes. And what this student did is, in this project, students actually designed this project in Google SketchUp first. We have a lot of students that come to our school, I'm not an artist, but we say, can you trace? So they start designing these things online first and then creating the art piece as a secondary item. So we try to have them look at art using the brain of an artist, but also a mathematician. The next project I'm going to show you is the Phys Newtons project. And this project came as a challenge. One of our art teacher came in and we were having a group visit and they said, you know, projects are fine and good and wonderful, but what about exams? What about the tests that the students have to take in order to graduate? And they said, you can't do projects and also learn all the content. So he said, watch me. So what he and an engineering and physics teacher did was they created a book based on the physics standards for grade 12 in California. So students in pairs designed pages of a children's book that examined the physics standards in California. Each page is obviously an image of how the physics standards works, but then the explanation of how it worked, and then the standard at the bottom. This obviously is conservation of momentum and energy, and you'll see how that works. This next one, which I like, is universal gravitation. How heavier objects tend to gravitate together versus lighter objects separate. And so in this project, the students obviously had to design what the picture was going to be and how it might demonstrate the principle. At the end of the book, the students together not only had to read each other's work, they critiqued each other's work, not just visually, but also to make sure the math and the science made sense. But then they also put together a test that tested whether you've actually understood all the information that was being transcribed in the books. And these books were put together, they're sold online, and you can go right now and buy them online for their kids, and you can actually purchase them, and they send them right to you.
Take the test.
You can take the test, too. This next one is looking at economics. This is a grade 10 project. Where the students had to look at economic principles that function and how they function in everyday life. So in this one, what the students had to do was define, Camille Gomez, she's just graduated, had to define basically an economic principle and how it might work. And then here, for those artists, is a lineo cut. So they had to take wood and actually design how it might look. What does that image look like? This book eventually, actually, for those of you who study economics, got on the Freakonomics blog because it was able to basically, in a simple way, explain how economics is functioning in everyday life. And again, it's a book that the students published. So this is just one page of a book that's about 60 pages long. Each student had to choose an idea. This is a grade 6 project. We were at a time a couple years ago, right last year actually, before we opened one of our elementary schools, our grade 6 math science teacher said, how can we engage our grade 6 students into the development of a new school? One of the things that we're passionate about is the idea of peer teaching. How can we have young kids and older kids working together on a project? And so in this project, students again used Google SketchUp to design a play space for students. This is what they believe the play space should look like for the young students at the elementary school. And so as part of this project, they had to design it. They had to design what elements should be included, and they presented it to our architect, who then went to the big group and came back to the class and said, we're going to take some of your designs and incorporate it into our final design. So some of these pieces that you'll see are actually in the actual physical building down in Chula Vista. When they did the grand opening, our grade 6 students got to stand up and talk about how their design influenced the opening of the school. So it's again designing places where there's ways in which the students can contribute, not just to their own classroom, but to the community as a whole.